Okay. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursaleen wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. So we stopped before the salat at obstacle number 5, which is bad company. The type of people that you keep around you. Yes. Sure. Shoot.
It's about the thinking about missing a salat and being a disbeliever. So just a little clarification on that. So is the opinion that if someone misses one salat intentionally, like let's say you going out to dinner and you're like, man, I'll make the salat after the dinner time, knowing that salat's going to pass. So by doing that, you become a disbeliever?
Okay. You guys hear his question? The question is going back to the salat, that if you miss the one prayer, does that make you a person a disbeliever? It said, for example, if you're out eating dinner, time for salat come in, you say, well, I'll just pray it, intentionally pray it, delay it, or whatever the case may be, and pray it whenever you get home, or whatever the case may be. Shaykh Uthaymeen rahimahullah ta'ala said, if Salatul Fajr comes in at 3 o'clock, and you set your alarm clock for 4 o'clock, then you've disbelieved. You intentionally allowed the prayer to go out intentionally, that you are not going to pray within that time frame. Now, sometimes things you are out and about, or whatever the case may be, you have to find a way to make the salat. But intentionally letting the salat go out of its time frame doesn't make a person necessarily a disbeliever, but it is a major sin. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, in the salata kanat ala al-mu'minina kitaban mawquta, that the prayers have been prescribed upon the believers with certain times. And the prayer should be made within that window of time that has been allocated for that particular prayer. And to intentionally delay the prayer, knowing that the salat is in, and saying, I'm not going to pray now, I'll pray later. There's some scholars that would say that would make you a disbeliever. I'm not saying it does. I'm saying that that's a major sin in Islam, and that's not even something that we want even people to think on that level that it's okay to do that. The prayers have to be made within the time frame. All right, and obviously if Salatul Isha is in, then you have, as some scholars say, the middle of the night, the last third of the night, you have at least up until Fajr comes in to pray Salatul Isha. But then the other prayers like Salatul Maghrib, the window is very short between Maghrib and Maghrib coming in and going out. The window is very short, and that's not something that we should play around with. We should make the prayer within the time frame of the prayer. All right, but if a person intentionally does not pray, they say, yeah, I know prayer is an obligation, but I'm not praying right now. I don't feel like praying. This would make a person a disbeliever. Absolutely. The difference of opinion amongst the scholars is whether or not the person leaves off the prayer out of laziness. He knows the prayer is an obligation, but just, refuses not to pray out of laziness. And some scholars debate and say that the person is not necessarily a disbeliever, although it's a major sin. But the vast majority of the scholars would say that the person is a disbeliever.
You say the vast majority?
Meaning jamhur al-ulama. We're talking about the scholars, the fuqaha, the scholars of fiqh. We're talking about the scholars whose opinions matter in those issues. Because there's some scholars whose opinions that doesn't really matter.
From my understanding, the vast majority, meaning, I know that's the keep thinking of Imam Ahmad, people know for that, people in Hanbali schools, but the Malikis, Shafis, Hanafis, all of them say that they're not a disbeliever. So
if the person do what?
If the person is negligent in their prayer, and they miss it, they say that it's mandatory, but they don't pray out of negligence. So the same situation we're talking about.
The prayer out of negligence.
Out of negligence, they miss it.
So we break it down in terms of the schools of fiqh. The Hanbali fiqh is usually more rigid when it comes to those type of things. So yes, their opinion would be that the person is, but it's not necessarily what school of thought holds this opinion and then I take that. We're looking at the dalil, the evidence that they use to support that position.
My position is just the statement the vast majority of scholars say that you're a disbeliever. I mean, to me that it's not the vast majority. If all the other schools of thought say the opposite.
But the other schools of thought that take the opposite position, is what is the dalil, the evidence. We're looking at the evidence, the weightiness of the evidence. And one school of thought could hold an opinion, and they have the weightiest evidence on that, and that's the opinion that we're going to go with. We're not going with, well, this person said this or this person said that. We're looking at the dalil, the evidence. And I personally have to review the actual issue. I don't know that the Shafi'i and the Hanbali, because even in some of these schools of thoughts, you will find that they have multiple opinions about a certain issue. It's not just like cut and dry that the Hanafis, this is their position. When you look into their school of thought and you look into their fiqh position, you'll find even on one issue, they'll have a multitude of opinions on that particular issue. So it's very, and maybe that was my fault for throwing it out like a blanket statement like that. But I can't say that the vast majority of the scholars are of the opposite opinion. I can't say that. Based upon my study of the issue, I can't say that the vast majority are on the opposite opinion, meaning that if the person leaves off the prayer out of negligence, that they're not a disbeliever. And that's not even something that we want to promote. We don't even if that was the case, that wouldn't be something that I would promote, because then we're promoting that it's okay to be negligent.
Well, everybody would say it's a major sin. I mean, there'd be no disagreement about that.
Right.
The question is whether it's kufr or not.
Right. Some scholars would say it is kufr. I lean towards that. I lean towards that only because we're living in a society where we're pretty much negligent with just about everything. You know, if I don't feel like fasting today, or I didn't feel like fasting today, it's not a big deal. You know, and some scholars will say that that's a major sin, to decide that today I don't feel like fasting, so I'm not going to fast. We're talking about obligatory fast during Ramadan. You know, the hijab, you know, it's not really obligatory. I don't have to, you know, as long as my hair is covered, I met the bare minimum, then I've met. So it's like we live in a society of negligence with Muslims, and in those type of environments, those are not the environments that you want to push opinions that support being negligent, being okay. You know, we don't want to push that. We want to push, which is why, for example, in Saudi Arabia, they hold the position that wearing a niqab is an obligation. I don't necessarily hold that the niqab is an obligation, but when you live in a society where you're trying to protect the morality of the people from going in a certain direction, it would be negligent for you to push the position that it's not obligatory, even if that is the case. You understand what I'm saying? Even if we said the niqab is not wajib, in that type of environment, if you held the position that the niqab is not wajib, in that type of environment, then you're opening a door. So you have some scholars like Sheikh Al-Albani who held that the niqab was not wajib. And he was met with a lot of confrontation from many of the Saudi scholars as a result of that, because in their environment, they held that position strongly because they're trying to protect the morality of the women in their environments. So when you live in a society where you see people are negligent in a certain area, you don't push fiqh positions that allow them to lean more towards being negligent. You push positions that would make people in fear of being negligent and lean more towards, you know, doing the right thing.
Just to be clear, the other opinion is that it's a major sin,
Mm-hmm.
so you can go to the hellfire and be punished for it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not pushing negligence. It's still a major sin. Both things, you know.
Mm-hmm.
One is just what is kufr.
Right.
So pushing the major sin opinion, I don't see that as like pushing some sort of like weak thing. It's a major sin. We all agree that we have to avoid that.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, but
Okay. Okay. He had his hand up first. I'm sorry. Okay.
My question is, when you was talking about we being disbelief, you're talking about us taking on friends that deliberately tell us not to pray. And this is a dude that's deliberately not praying. Right?
Mm-hmm.
He's taking a position, I'm Muslim, but I'm not going to pray, period.
Right.
And I'm telling you that, come on, man, you going to pray now? Man, why you going to pray? You're talking about that kind of dude, not somebody that just, okay, I'm in the dining room and it's time to pray, I'm going to hold it back. You're not talking about that.
No, that's something totally different. We're talking about a person who knows that prayer is an obligation, but chooses not to pray. Says, I'm not going to pray right now. Or I'm not praying right now. I'm not really on my deen right now. This type of individual. Absolutely. Now, we're not talking about somebody who knows that the prayer is in, as the example that he gave. Like, you're out in dinner, you know that the time for the salat is in, and you're like, all right, well, we'll just pray when we get home. Right? We're not talking about that type of negligence. We're talking about a person who says they're Muslim and decides, you know what, the prayers, yeah, but I'm not going to pray. or as a group of us, we're lining up for salat, and he decides to go off to the side. Nah, I'm not praying right now, right? That type of individual, absolutely. All right. So, in continuing, we're talking about bad company, people that we keep around us that infringe on our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These people are obstacles. They pose obstacles in our path to servitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Quran the discussion of the people in the hellfire. One says, I wish I had not taken such and such as a friend. He indeed led me astray after knowledge came to me. The Prophet ﷺ gave us a very clear example of the relationship between the believers amongst themselves. Al-mu'min mir'atun lil-mu'min, that the believer is a mirror to another believer. That we mirror to one another our flaws, our mistakes. You ever been in a space with a brother, and maybe you're negligent in certain aspect of your religion, and then you come in contact with a particular brother, or you're in the same space with a particular brother, and you get this energy from him. Maybe you don't make your sunnah prayers, but then you see this brother, he's making his sunnah prayers, or you see the sister, they making their, and they start them, and they make you feel like, well, dag, man, I've been really negligent on my sunnah prayer. I need to really get on that, right? We've all been around people that make us feel like that. You walk into a khutbah and you hear Imam giving a khutbah, and you're saying to yourself, this guy just breathed life back into me. I really need to get back on my deen. This is the way that we mirror to one another our flaws and our mistakes. When you're around a believer, they're showing you through their presence. It may not even be like the person is intentionally trying to show you what your flaws or your mistakes is. It's just being in that person's space. You're going to automatically feel a certain energy from that person, and then compare that to the energy that you have, and then say to yourself, I really need to get on my sunnah prayers, or I really need to start doing this more, because I was just around this brother, man, and subhanAllah, he reminded me of something that I used to do that I don't even do anymore. You understand what I'm saying? We've all been around people that made us feel like that. And the believer is a mirror to another believer. Turiyahu mahasinahu wa ma'ayibahu. He shows him his good and he shows him his bad. This is the friendship of the believer. These are the type of people that you want to be around. People who not just constantly blowing smoke up your throat. People who are going to tell you about the good things about yourself, but also going to tell you about the bad things. The sad thing about that is the environment that we live in today is that we only befriend people who blow smoke. We only want people around us that tell us the good about ourselves. And the moment someone seems like they're infringing on this image that we have in our minds, we see ourselves to be this, right? And we're going to defend that. We're going to protect that at all costs. So the moment we feel like somebody is coming for that image that we have of ourselves in our minds, we're going to, the walls go up. We're going to defend, because we believe in our minds that this is who I am. In my mind, this is who I am. And when the person is advising me, or the person is pointing some flaw or mistake out in mine, we believe that they're attacking that image that we have in our mind, and we're going to defend that. And so today we're only comfortable or cool with people that constantly tell us good things about ourselves and really don't want to befriend someone who tells us the negative things about ourselves. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us a glimpse at true companionship between two of his prophets, Musa and Harun. Although biological brothers, they were still a friendship, a suhbah, a companionship that they had for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that Musa, he made a dua, very famous dua that Musa made when he was on his journey to go speak to Fir'aun. He said, وَجَعَلْ لِي وَزِيرًا مِنْ أَهْلِي هَارُونَ أَخِي أُشْدُدْ بِهِ أَزْرِي وَأَشْرِكْهُ فِي أَمْرِي كَيْ نُسَبِّحَكَ كَثِيرًا وَنَذْكُرَكَ كَثِيرًا. He said, oh Allah, make for me a wazir, make for me a governor, someone to assist me in my affairs, someone from my family. Harun Akhi, my brother Harun. Ushdud bihi azri, strengthen me with him. This is companionship. People that you're around, they should make you stronger. They should complement your journey to Allah, not complicate your journey to Allah. Ushdud bihi azri, strengthen my affair with him, wa ashrikhu fi amri, and make him a prophet just like me. He asked for musharaka, and through this dua of Prophet Musa, it made Harun a prophet. Shows you there was no jealousy between them. There was no envy between them, right? Because envy and jealousy and envy amongst siblings is the worst type. All you have to do is look at the story of Prophet Yusuf, alayhi salam. What did Prophet Yaqub tell him? He told him, don't relay your dream to your brothers, your own biological brothers. فَيَكِيدُ لَكَ كَيْدًا, or they're going to plot against you. This was his own brothers who did this to him. So sibling rivalry and jealousy and envy amongst siblings is the worst type. Don't ever underestimate that. But you will find with Musa and Harun, there was no envy, because no one embarks upon a journey of prophethood and then asks for his brother to be a prophet along with him, except that there's no jealousy or envy amongst them. Yaqub told Yusuf, don't relay your dream to your brothers or they're going to plot against you. And Musa said to Allah, make my brother my partner in my journey to Fir'aun. Ashrikhu fi amri. Kay nusabbihaka kathira, so that we can praise you much, wa nadhkuraka kathira, and we can remember you much. That is true companionship. When you're around somebody, they remind you of Allah. When you're around somebody, they are reminding you of Allah, and you are praising and worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala together. That is true companionship for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is the type of companionship that aids one on his journey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so one of the supplications that we can make dua for, or one of the supplications that we can make, is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us a suhbah tayyibah, that Allah gives us good companionship, allows us to be surrounded by good people, because good people are going to help you in your journey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Starting with your spouses. Number 6, from the obstacles that impede our journey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is trial and tribulation. Fitna. Tumultuous times can have a negative impact on our journey towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is why Allah doesn't test us with more than we can bear. Allah does not give us more than we can handle. Because if He gave us more than we could handle, we would not be able to continue on in our journey. Allah wants us to worship Him. Allah created us to worship Him. And so do you think that He would put more on us than we could handle if He wanted us to continuously worship Him? He's not going to put more on us than we can handle. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in 2 places in the Quran, لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها, that Allah does not burden a soul more than it can bear. And another ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا ما آتاها. Allah will not place on a soul more than He has given it the capacity to bear. وَسَيَجْعَلَ اللَّهُ بَعْدَ عُسْرِ يُسْرًا, and Allah will make after difficulty ease. So Allah has given us the capacity to endure, therefore He doesn't give us more than the capacity to endure. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows us better than we know ourselves, which is why we fret when we see the trial coming towards us. We can try to circumvent the tests that have been preordained 50,000 years before our existence, and no matter what we do, what has been written will be executed. There is no escaping that. The Prophet ﷺ mentioned in another hadith, فَإِنْ أَخْطَأَهُ هَذَا نَشَهَهُ هَذَا وَإِنْ أَخْطَأَهُ هَذَا نَشَهَهُ هَذَا, that if this trial misses you, another one is going to hit you, and if this trial misses you, another one is going to hit you. How does a trial miss you? If Allah decreed this to happen to you, how does that miss you? He said if one trial misses you, then another one is going to hit you. If that one misses you, then another one is going to hit you. How is it something that Allah decreed to happen to you miss you? How does that happen? Dua. So we're saying dua changes the qadr? Yes and no. A person can make dua for something, right? Oh Allah, bless me with this. And instead of Allah giving you what you asked for, some test that was going to come to you, He diverts the test away from you. The Prophet ﷺ said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will continue to respond to your dua in one of three ways. Either He'll give you what you asked for, and instead of giving what you asked for, He'll remove some harm from you, or He'll store it for you in the hereafter. Those are the 3 ways that Allah responds to your dua. One of the ways that Allah responds to your dua is instead of giving you what you ask for, He diverts some trial or tribulation from you. So instead of it coming to you now, He puts that on pause, or He diverts it from you. Or He lessens it. The intensity of it will be lessened. It will not be as intense as it would have been. Right? This is the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responds to your dua. However, that test that Allah diverts from you doesn't mean that you're not going to get it later. He diverts it from you at this moment, but it may come back to you later on. Because what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decreed to happen to you, there is no circumventing that. There's no way around that. Alright? So, when the Prophet ﷺ said, "In akhta'u hadha nashahu hadha," that if this one misses him, then this one is going to hit him. If that one misses him, then this one is going to hit him. It doesn't mean that dua changes the qadr. It means that dua can execute another qadr. Dua doesn't change the qadr. What Allah decreed to happen is going to happen. However, dua can bring in the execution of another qadr. And even that qadr, Allah decreed that as well. You guys follow me? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows our level of endurance, so He gives us just enough to humble us along our journey. In our journey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, sometimes we need to be humbled. And this is one of the things that tests are designed to do, to humble you. Sometimes we're on our high horse and we think we got it all figured out until a test comes into our lives. And sometimes that test can be with money, it can be within your own self, or it can be with other people that are around you. It could be with other people. The Prophet ﷺ said, "لا يزال البلاء بالمؤمن في ماله ونفسه وولده حتى يمشي على الأرض وليس عليه خطيئة." That test will continue to come to the child of Adam in his self, in his wealth, and in his children until he is walking on the earth sinless. In your wealth, in yourself, and even the people that are close to you. These are the three areas of our lives where usually our tests come from. In our wealth, in our health, as well as the people that are around us. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us these tests to humble us. Sometimes we're riding high on our journey and we tend to become a little arrogant, and sometimes we need to be humbled. This was the whole premise of the story of Musa and Khidr, right? Musa was asked, who is the most knowledgeable person on earth? And Musa said, I am. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent to him Khidr to humble him. That although you was a prophet and Khidr was not a prophet, he still had knowledge about things that you didn't have knowledge about. And that's humbling. That's humbling. That here you are a prophet, and then here along comes this man, this righteous man, who's teaching you things about life that you didn't even know, and you're a prophet, and he's not. It's humbling. That's like you being the CEO of your company, and then you hire this intern or you hire this person to come work for you, and they know more about your business than you do. Humbling. They're telling you how to make your business more lucrative, telling you how to market your business even better. And you're saying to yourself, how in the world is this possible? This is my company. Right? It's humbling. As Allah says in the Quran, وَفَوْقَ كُلِّ ذِي عِلْمٍ عَلِيمٍ, that above everyone that has knowledge is one more knowledgeable. Above everyone that has knowledge is one more knowledgeable. So, when you look at the prophets and messengers and their tests, right? Those tests were designed not to break them. Those tests were designed to build them, to humble them, and to build you back up anew. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala breaks those walls down that we hold up about ourselves. These images, these false images that we have about ourselves, Allah breaks those images down and then helps us to rebuild a new image, a more humbled image. You guys follow me? Anybody disagree with that? We have images of ourselves in our minds. I'm this, I'm that, I'm great, I'm this, I'm that. Everyone likes to see themselves in this, beautiful light, this holistic light where we believe that we are just the most pure, righteous, divine individuals. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us tests that help to break those images down. And when those images are broken down, we can build those images now on a new foundation of humility. Humility. We have an experience with our children. We have an experience with our wealth. We have an experience with our own bodies, right? You think you're strong, right? Some of us work out, we go lift weights, whatever. You're all buff, right? And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests you with a small little cold, a small little sickness. You can't get out of bed for days. And it humbles you. It doesn't matter how big you are, how much you can lift. You can't even lift the cover off of you to get out of bed. But you in the gym just days ago, lifting 400 pounds, 300 pounds on the weights, right? And then 2 days later, you hit with a sickness, you can't even lift the cover to get out of the bed. It's humbling. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you what you need to humble you. But when you look at the prophets and messengers, Prophet Yunus alayhi salam, وَنَادَى فِي الظُّلُمَاتِ أَنْ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا أَنْتَ سُبْحَانَكَ إِنِّي كُنْتُ مِنَ الظَّالِمِينَ. And he called out in the belly of the well, لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا أَنْتَ, nothing worthy of worship except you, إِنِّي كُنْتُ مِنَ الظَّالِمِينَ, I was wrong. Humbled, right? Because Allah mentions before that, وَذَنُّونَ إِذْ ذَهَبَ مُغَاضِبًا فَظَنَّ أَلَّا نَقْدِرُ عَلَيْهِ. And Dhunnun, the companion of the well, he walked away in anger, thinking that nobody had control over him. And Allah calls the well to swallow him and hold him there. Just hold him. Allah commanded the well, don't break his skin, don't crush his bones, hold him there. Humbling. And then Yunus called out in the belly of that well. Listen to his dua. You can hear the pain in his dua. He called out in the belly of the well, La ilaha illa anta, nothing worthy of worship except you, inni kuntu min al-zalimin, I was wrong. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Quran, لَوْلَا إِذْ كَانَ مِنَ الْمُسَبِّحِينَ لَلَبِثَ فِي بَطْنِهِ إِلَى يَوْمِ يُبْعَثُونَ. That if it had not been for the fact that Yunus used to praise us before this incident, he would have remained in the belly of the well until Yawm al-Qiyamah. Showing you that the work that you put in when times are easy, you will reap that when times are difficult. He said, if he had not been before this amongst those who used to praise me, he would have remained in the belly of the well until the day of judgment. Showing you that the work that you put in when things are easy, you will reap that when things are difficult. As the scholars say, تَعَرَّفْ إِلَى اللَّهِ فِي الرَّخَاءِ يَعْرِفْكَ فِي الشِّدَّةِ. Acknowledge Allah when things are easy, and Allah will acknowledge you when things are difficult. Acknowledge Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when things are easy, and Allah will acknowledge you when things are difficult. But, sometimes we tend to do the opposite. When things are easy, it's like we don't really need Allah. I'm good. I got a good job, my kids are good, like my marriage is good. I don't really need to make dua. Make dua for what? I got everything. What do I need to make dua for? I got everything. And then when difficult times come, then we up at the middle of the night, raising our hands, crying, begging Allah, Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Allahumma, Allahumma, right? And then soon some ease come, we turn away and walk away as if we never made dua to begin with. The human being, mashallah, tabarakallah. When you look at Prophet Ayub, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tested Ayub, right, with a disease. And to the point where some of the scholars mentioned that even some of his skin started shedding. His wife left him. His wife stayed with him. His family died, left him. He had no family. And the only one that was left there was his wife. And the scholars, Ibn Kathir, he said that when did things get really bad, or when did it reach its point? When Prophet Ayub's wife came home one day and she was bald-headed. And Prophet Ayub asked her, where's your hair? She said, I sold my hair so we could get you some treatment for the skin disease that he was suffering from. It's called burus. What is it in English? Leprosy. Right? Leprosy. She said, I shaved my head off and sold my hair so that I could gain some money to help you. And when he saw that, he called out to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَأَيُّوبَ إِذْ نَادَى رَبَّهُ أَنِّي مَسَّنِيَ الضُّرُّ وَأَنْتَ أَرْحَمَ الرَّاحِمِينَ. And Ayub, when he called out to his Lord, oh my Lord, I have been tested with harm and difficulty. قَدْ مَسَّنِيَ الضُّرُّ وَأَنْتَ أَرْحَمَ الرَّاحِمِينَ. And you are the most merciful of those who have mercy. And Allah says, فَاسْتَجَبْنَا لَهُ فَكَشَفْنَا مَا بِهِ مِنْ ضُرٍّ. And we responded to him and we removed the hardship from Prophet Ayub. وَآتَيْنَاهُ وَأَهْلَهُ مِثْلَهُمْ مَعَهُمْ رَحْمَةً مِنْ عِنْدِنَا وَذِكْرَى لِلْعَابِدِينَ. And we gave Prophet Ayub and his family and his wife, we gave them mercy from us. And you could hear the pain in Ayub's voice. That was it. He was able to tolerate everything up to that point until he saw what was happening to his wife. Now it affected his family, right? Because as men, sometimes we can endure, so as long as it's just us. But when we start to see our family, our children being affected by those things, it takes us to another level. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responded. Musa alayhi salam, when he was being hunted by Fir'aun and his people, and he fled Egypt and he ran to Midian, which is in Saudi Arabia today. Today what we know is a part of Saudi Arabia today. He fled to the city of Midian. And he laid down by a tree, running. Just think somebody's chasing you, right? I guess the battery went out. Just think that somebody's chasing you and you're running for your life. And Musa, he sat down by a tree and he said, Rabbi inni lima anzalta ilayya min khayrin faqir. Oh my Lord, whatever you have prepared for me, I am in need of it right now. Right now I need it. You can hear the pain in his voice. So with all of these supplications, all of these prophets, and the scholars say that this is what is known as tawassul bil hal, to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala based upon your condition. This is one of the ways to make dua, to say, oh Allah, look at my situation. Oh Allah, you see my situation. I am in need of your mercy. I am in need of your aid, your assistance. Oh Allah, look at my situation. You're calling on Allah based upon your condition. And this is more likely to get a response from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than calling on Allah, asking Him just verbally from your mouth. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, throughout all of these situations, we're seeing men, strong men, call on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala based upon a weakness, being humbled in their situations. These was prophets, strong men. Allah refers to them as ulul azmi min ar-rusuli, the strong-willed prophets, 5 of them. And that's Musa, Isa, Ibrahim, Muhammad, and Nuh, right? These are called ulul azmi, the 5 prophets of strong will and strength. But you see some of these men in these examples calling out to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala based upon a weakness, based upon humility of their situation, being humbled in their situation, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves for us to call on Him in humility. There's something about making dua to Allah after you have been broken that causes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to respond immediately. There's something about calling on Allah in fear that causes Allah to respond immediately. There's something about calling on Allah and being in humility, being in the most humbled situation, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala seems to respond immediately. Right? Zakaria, he called out to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, قَالَ رَبِّي إِنِّي وَهَنَ الْعَظَمُ مِنِّي وَاشْتَعَلَ الرَّأْسُ شَيْبًا وَلَمْ أَكُنْ بِدُعَاءِ رَبِّي شَقِيًّا. And remember when Zakaria called out to Allah and he said, oh my Lord, my bones are old and my hair is gray. وَلَمْ أَكُنْ بِدُعَاءِ رَبِّي شَقِيًّا. Oh Allah, don't let my dua go unanswered. Don't let my dua go without being responded to. Don't let me be wretched in my dua. This was a weakness. He's calling on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, mentioning his physical weakness. He said, my bones are old and weak and my hair is gray. This was a physical weakness, but is reminiscent of the spiritual weakness that we all experience at some point or another. However, this doesn't mean that for some trial and tribulation can't create frustration or fear or disappointment, where we might come to a point where we begin to look for the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or a way out. Being tested and wanting out of the situation does not negate being patient. All right? That's a level that some of us will probably never get to, where we are actually pleased with the test that Allah give us. Right? We're actually welcoming the tests, right? As the Prophet ﷺ used to supplicate, وَأَسْأَلُكَ الرِّضَى بَعْدَ الْقَضَى. And I ask you for rida, I ask you for pleasure after the execution of your qadr. That's a level that some of us may never achieve, where you're actually pleased with the test that Allah give you. You actually are looking forward to Allah testing you. But for most of us, when we're tested, we endure for a little bit and then we want out of that situation. That doesn't mean that you're not being patient. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions even in the Quran where some of the prophets were tested and they said, Mata Nasrullah, when will the help of Allah come? They want the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to come. So this doesn't mean that the individual doesn't believe in Allah, but the circumstance can be overwhelming. Guys, follow me. And sometimes we can be tested and that test can be overwhelming. That doesn't mean that you don't believe in Allah. It doesn't mean that you believe less in Allah. It doesn't mean that, you're supposed to walk around with a smile because you're being tested. That's a different level that some of us may not be on. But to desire out of the situation and to desire that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make the situation easier doesn't mean that you are any less of a believer. And it is during this time that your worship becomes more meritorious, because during these times people usually withdraw and turn away from worship. As we mentioned in the khutbah, that some people turn away from worshiping Allah when things get difficult. It becomes overwhelming, overbearing, and they can't do it anymore. I'm out. I'm leaving Islam, or I'm leaving off the prayer. And I've always been, pretty puzzled at the fact that you're being tested with something and you run away from prayer. I'm just really trying to figure out, how does your life get better when you stop praying? It's like, brother, why you don't come to the masjid anymore? Well, I'm going through something. It's like, okay. Isn't the masjid where you're supposed to be when you're going through something? Why do we run in the opposite direction? I never understood that for the life of me. I can't figure it out why a person is going through something and stops praying. Right? That means you've severed all ties with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because you're going through something. Right? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said in a hadith that is oftentimes misunderstood, he said, Al-ibadatu fil haraj ka hijrati ilayya. He said, worshiping Allah when times are difficult is like making hijrah to me, like migrating directly to me. Meaning, making hijrah or worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when times are difficult, meaning people usually don't worship Allah when times are difficult. People usually don't worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when times are difficult. This is why the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, when he was asked about why does he fast so much in the month of Rajab, in the month of Sha'ban. He used to fast almost the whole month of Sha'ban. Out of all of the months in the year, he would fast the month of Sha'ban more than any other month. And when he was asked why he did that, he said that the reason why he did that, he said, ذَلِكَ الشَّهْرَ يَغْفِلُ كَثِيرٌ مِنَ النَّاسِ. He said the month of Sha'ban is the month that most people are heedless and negligent. It's between Rajab and Ramadan, and it's the month that most people are negligent and heedless, and it is the month that our deeds are taken up to Allah, and I like to fast while my deeds are being taken up to Allah. So most people leave off worship when times are difficult, but to increase in your worship when times are difficult makes your worship more meritorious. You guys, you follow me? Your worship has more merit to it when you worship when times are difficult. Why? Because usually people abandon worship when times are difficult. People usually run away. The Prophet ﷺ identified the last third of the night as a time when most people are asleep and heedless, and he would seize the opportunity to get up and pray. Right? And this is also the reason why the Prophet ﷺ said that there will come a time where the latter generation of the Muslim community would receive the reward of 50 of the Sahaba. Why? Because we will be living at a time when there's no cushion. The Sahaba had the Prophet ﷺ around them. Even after the death of the Prophet ﷺ, they had Abu Bakr around them. Even after the death of Abu Bakr, they had Umar. Even after the death of Umar, they had Uthman, they had Ali, they had Abdurrahman, they had Sa'd, they had Fulan and Fulan and Fulan. They had companions around them. They shared the same space with the Prophet ﷺ that served as a cushion. Fast forward 1438 years later, we don't have anything. Our whole practice of Islam is based upon what we're reading out of books and what scholars teach us. That's it. We don't have any visual aid in front of us. We don't have anything. We read something, a hadith in a book, we go to a person of knowledge, they explain the hadith, we practice it in our lives. That's the extent of our religion. That's it. And the trials and tribulations that we are experiencing is on a different level than what the Sahaba experienced. both physical and mental, as well as psychologically and spiritually, on different levels. And so the Prophet ﷺ said that there will possibly come a time لِلْعَامَلْ فِيهِمْ مِثْلُ أَجْرِ خَمْسِينَ رَجُلًا يَعْمَلُونَ مِثْلَ عَمَلِكُمْ. He said there will come a time where people from the latter generation of this ummah, they will receive the reward. One person will receive the reward of 50 of you. The Sahaba were mustaghrab. They were amazed. They said, you mean 50 of them or 50 of us? He said, no, 50 of you. Why? Because serving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when times are difficult, it raises the level of your merit even greater than when things are easy. So understand that the greater the trial, the greater the reward. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Inna idam al-jaza ma'a idam al-bala." The greater the test, the greater the reward. The greater the test, the greater the reward. Some of us would not have any good deeds on the Day of Judgment had it not been for the trials and tribulations that we experience in this life. Imam Ahmed rahimahullah ta'ala said, "Lawla al-masa'ib laqadimna al-qiyama mafalis." That if it wasn't for the trials and tribulations that we experience in this life, we would come on the Day of Judgment bankrupt. Most of the hasanat that we get in this life is we have with the trials and tribulations that Allah give us. Not because we're doing some astronomical deeds, some great, deeds that we're doing. It's not about that. It's about the trials and tribulations that we are experiencing, through which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is purifying us from sin as well as increasing our hasanat. Obstacle number 7, I'll just read through these really quickly because I want to address any questions or comments or whatever. All right, so number 7 is sin and disobedience. Obviously, sin and disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the greatest obstacle, one of the greatest obstacles that impede our path to servitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's nothing or no greater obstacle on our path to servitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than disobedience. Allah says in the Quran, Ya ibadi alladhina asrafu ala anfusihim la taqnatu min rahmatillah inna Allaha yaghfiru dhunuba jami'an. That, oh, my servants who have transgressed against themselves by committing sin, do not fall into despair over the mercy of Allah. Indeed, Allah forgives all sins. Okay, so even thinking that Allah is not going to forgive you as a result of the sins that you have committed is an obstacle that impedes your journey to worship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number 8, from the things that is an obstacle in our path to journey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is what is known as su' khuluq, bad character. So now, I want to ask the question, how does bad character infringe on our journey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? How does having bad character infringe on our journey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Huh? Heedlessness. I'm talking about bad character. Like you're just a person that doesn't have good adab. You have bad manners, right? How does that impede your journey to worship? You become a bad example for other people. Okay, that's good. Okay, for either a Muslim to become a better Muslim or for a non-Muslim to become Muslim. You now become an obstacle not just for yourself but for other people. Okay. 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 So the action is based upon the intention. Well, I think that hadith is a little different. I get where you're going with that, but that hadith is more so as it relates to the reward that you will receive. Actions are based upon intention, meaning that the reward for your action is based upon your intention. In terms of a person having bad character, it doesn't necessarily mean that a person intended to do something wrong. A person could just have bad character, bad manners, and just not actually intended to have that. You understand what I'm saying? Is it possible that a person could have bad manners, but doesn't necessarily intend to offend people? Absolutely. People do it all the time. And these are the type of people you pull their coat and you say, hey, listen, this might not have been a good way to handle that. And the person might accept that and be receptive and say, you know what, you're absolutely right. I didn't even think about that. So their intention is not to harm people, right? They don't have the intention to harm people, although their character is of a character that is un-Islamic or something that Islam doesn't promote. So I don't want to get into judging somebody's intention because the person has bad character. That doesn't necessarily mean that he has a bad intention. But having bad character infringes or impedes our journey towards servitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because along this journey to reaching Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we're going to come in contact with other people. You're not on this path all by yourself. You're going to come in contact with other people. And those other people could be Muslims and non-Muslims, just like the brother mentioned. And the people that we come in contact with along this journey are a number of different people. There are some people who are dhalun, some people who have lost their way. Some people that we come in contact with are people who have lost their way. And others who believe that they're on the right way, but they've lost their way too. There's some people who actually believe that they're doing the right thing when in fact they're actually doing the wrong thing. And that's the danger in being misguided. In being misguided, you actually believe that I am the one that is on the truth and everybody else is on falsehood. When in fact, you are the one that is on falsehood and everybody else might be actually on truth. That's the danger. Allah mentioned about the hypocrites that they are the ones who create corruption. وَلَكِنْ لَا يَشْعُرُونَ, but they don't even realize. وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ لَا تُفْسِدُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ, when it is said to them, don't create corruption in the earth. What do they say? قَالُوا إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ مُصْلِحُونَ. They said, no, we are the good doers. We are the ones that are making everything right. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, أَلَا إِنَّهُمْ هُمُ الْمُفْسِدُونَ وَلَكِنْ لَا يَشْعُرُونَ. They are indeed the ones that are corrupting the earth, but they don't even realize it. That's the danger in being astray. Imam Ahmad mentioned in a very famous dua, he said, "Oh Allah, guide those from amongst us who are astray, who believe that they are on guidance so that they don't lead anyone else astray from our ummah." So along this path, we're going to come across a lot of people. We're going to come across people who have lost their way. We're going to come across people who are trying to find their way. We're going to come across people who believe that they're on the right path, but not necessarily. At any rate, all of them are servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You guys agree with that? Everyone that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created is His servant. Whether we choose consciously to serve Him or not. The only difference between us and someone who is a disbeliever is that we've made a conscious choice to submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And those who disbelieve have not. And that's what a kafir is. A kafir is an ingrate. The origin of a person who is a disbeliever is an ingrate. Someone who has refused acknowledging the blessings of Allah, acknowledging God Himself, acknowledging the blessings of Allah, but still refusing to serve Him. This is a disbeliever. The Muslim is the one who acknowledges the blessings of Allah, acknowledges the existence of Allah, acknowledges the oneness of Allah, and makes a conscious decision to submit to Him. Right? At any rate, we're all servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah is the one who has decreed guidance and misguidance for some of His servants, and decreed guidance for some of His servants, and just decreed misguidance for other of His servants. It's not for us to complicate somebody else's journey. And when you complicate somebody else's journey because of your bad character, you are essentially complicating your own journey. You guys follow me? The Prophet ﷺ said, "Inna minkum lamunaffirin." Indeed, from amongst you are those who chase people away. From amongst you are those who chase people away. You complicate other people's journey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you ever evaluate yourself, you want to make sure that you are not that person. Make sure you are not the person that is responsible for chasing somebody else away from finding Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the fact of the matter is that the decree may not be, the qadr may not be done with all of us. Some of us, we believe that, khalas, I'm going to Jannah, that's it. I'm good. And it will sit from a place of privilege and say who's going to Jannah, who's not going to Jannah. And the fact of the matter is that the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may not be done with you either. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, إِنَّ الرَّجُلَ يَعْمَلُ بِعَمَلِ أَهْلِ الْجَنَّةِ حَتَّى مَا يَكُونُ بَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَهُ إِلَّا الذِّرَاعِ فَيَسْبِقُ الْكِتَابِ فَيَعْمَلُ بِعَمَلِ أَهْلِ النَّارِ فَيَدْخُلُهَا. He said that indeed a man may do the deeds of the people of Jannah until right before his demise, right before his death, what is written overtakes him and he does the deeds of the people of hellfire and he goes to the hellfire. And vice versa. A man could do the deeds of the people of the hellfire until there's a short span of his life left and he begins to do the deeds of the people of Jannah and he dies on that and goes to Jannah. So no one really knows, al-ibra bil khawatim, as the scholars say, that what is important is what you die on. What is important is what you die on. Because whatever you die on, that's what you will be resurrected on. As you die on this is what you will be resurrected on. So it's important that we don't complicate somebody else's journey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and essentially complicate our own journey. So that's number 8, and I'll just breeze through 9 and 10. Number 9 is a lack of gratitude that impedes our process or our journey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The lack of gratitude, because when you don't show gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the things that He has blessed you with, He'll take the things that He blessed you with and turn them into curses. The same thing that was a blessing will be turned into a curse because of your lack of gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And last but not least, the greatest obstacle in our journey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a lack of sincerity, a lack of ikhlas. At the core of every dysfunction is a lack of sincerity. Look at any dysfunctional situation and you can identify that the core of the dysfunction in that situation is a lack of sincerity. Whether it's in business, whether it's in marriage, whether it's in friendships, relationships, at the core of every dysfunction is a lack of ikhlas, is a lack of sincerity. And along our journey towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, servitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we're going to see many people fall short and get distracted and disconnected. And this will be part and parcel because they lack sincerity. If you are not along this journey solely for the sake of Allah, eventually the real you will expose itself. If you are not on this path of Islam to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your journey to servitude is not based upon your love of Allah and your sincerity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The real you will expose itself. Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala said, فَلِوَاحِدٍ كُنْ وَاحِدٍ فِي وَاحِدٍ أَعْنِي سَبِيلِ الْحَقِّ وَالْإِيمَانِ. He said in a line of poetry, so for the love of one, be one in the path of one. And that is the path of truth and iman and faith. فَلِوَاحِدٍ, for the love of one, be one. كُنْ وَاحِدٍ, for the love of one, meaning Allah, be one. Only for Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. Fi wahidin, in only one path. There's not multiple paths to get to God, there's only one path. Sirat al-Mustaqim. So for the love of one, be one in one. And that is the path of faith and truth. And the same applies when we come to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Yawm al-Qiyamah. Our servitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala should be founded on ikhlas. Shaitan promised Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he would lead all of Allah's servants astray except one category. And that one category are those who are sincere. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قَالَ رَبِّي فَأَنظِرْنِي إِلَى يَوْمِ يُبْعَثُونَ. He said, "Oh my Lord, give me respite into the day that everybody is resurrected." Allah said, قَالَ إِنَّكَ فَإِنَّكَ مِنَ الْمُنذَرِينَ. Indeed, you are of those who have been granted respite. إِلَى يَوْمِ وَقْتٍ مَعْلُومٍ. Until the day that is well known. قَالَ رَبِّي بِمَا أَغْوَيْتَنِي لَأُزَيِّنَنَّ لَهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ وَلَأُغْوِيَنَّهُمْ أَجْمَعِينَ إِلَّا عِبَادِكَ مِنْهُمُ الْمُخْلَصِينَ. He said, by your Lord, I will lead them astray. All of them, every single one of them, I will lead every one of them in the earth astray, except those from your servants who are sincere. This is the only category that shaitan will have no authority over. Because when you're sincerely doing what you do for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, nothing or no one can turn you away from that, because you're not doing it for anything other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if you're treading this path of journey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for any reason other than the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's no guarantee for longevity, because eventually the real you will expose itself. Your mission, your journey stops when the reason that you are on this path stops. Which is why Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam died, he said, "Man kana ya'budu Muhammad fa inna Muhammad kad mata." Whoever has worshipped Muhammad, then Muhammad is dead. Meaning your journey is over. You're done. Whoever was in this for Muhammad, then Muhammad is dead. Man kana ya'budu Muhammadan fa inna Muhammadan kad mata. Whoever was worshipping Muhammad, then Muhammad is dead. وَمَنْ كَانَ يَعْبُدُ اللَّهَ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ حَيٌّ لَا يَمُوتُ. And whoever was worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah is ever living, He never dies. Allah is ever living, He never dies. Meaning your journey will continue until you die. So if you took shahada to be with someone, then your Islam will be contingent on that person's presence in your life. I took shahada to be married to this person. فَمَنْ كَانَتْ هِجْرَتُهُ لِلدُّنْيَا يُصِيبُهَا أَوْ امْرَأَةٍ يَنْكِحُهَا فَهِجْرَتُهُ إِلَى مَا هَاجَرَ إِلَيْهِ. As the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever made hijrah, made migration for some portion of the dunya, or to marry someone, take some woman's hand in marriage, then his migration is for what he migrated for. So if you're on this path of Islam, and you're on this path for any reason other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then your journey will stop when the reason that you took your shahada, the reason why you're on this path, stops. And as I'll end with this statement of Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, "Man ahabba shay'in ghayr Allah udhiba bihi thalatha marrat." That whoever loves something other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he will be punished with that thing 3 times. Whoever loves something or someone other than Allah, he will be punished with that thing 3 times. في هذه الدار فهو يعذب به قبل حصوله. He said, first you will be punished before you actually get the thing. You desire it so much, you will be punished before you actually get it. Think sometimes of all the obstacles that we go through to have something or someone, right? Sometimes we'll cut off our own family members to have this person in marriage, whether it's a male or female. We go through leaps and bounds, we go through a whole obstacle course just to have this person. And if you got to go through that to have something, 9 times out of 10, it's probably not for you. You're forcing it. You're forcing it. Sometimes we got to scramble. We have certain bills. We push that bill to the side because I want to go buy this car, right? So I'm going to push this bill to the side, push that bill to the side, or push that off to the side. I'm going to go buy this, and then I'll deal with all of that other stuff later, right? Because we got to have that thing. So you'll be punished before you get it. He said, حتى يحصل فإذا حصل أذب به حال حصوله بالخوف من صلبه وفواته. He said, then once you get the thing, you'll be punished with it still even after you get it, and that will be through the fear of losing it. You will be punished with the fear of losing it and it being taken away from you. He said, فَإِذَا سُلِبَ مِنْهُ اشْتَدَّ عَلَيْهِ عَذَابُهُ فَهَذِهِ ثَلَاثَ أَنْوَاعٍ مِنَ الْعَذَابِ فِي هَذِهِ الدَّارِ. He said, and then after the fear of losing the thing, eventually it's taken away from you, and you're punished with it being taken away from you altogether. These are 3 punishments that come to you in this life for loving something or someone more than you love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, if you're along this journey for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone, even if everyone decides to abandon Islam, you continue on. Your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your relationship with God is not contingent on anybody. You guys understand? Sisters, you understand? Your relationship with Allah is not contingent on the presence of your husband in your life, meaning that when your husband divorces you, he takes everything away from you. He takes your heart with him, and he takes your deen with him. Nobody should shed their religion and allow somebody to walk out of their life and take your deen with them. Your relationship with God is not contingent on the presence of anyone in your life. Your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is solely based upon your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu used to supplicate, Allahumma ij'al amali kullahu salihan waj'alhu liwajhika khalisan wa la taj'al li ahadin fihi shay'a. O Allah, make all of my deeds righteous and make all of my deeds solely for your sake, and do not give anyone a share or a portion of the reward for my deeds. Nobody. And this is what I wanted to present, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. So many other details to go along with that. Just wanted to make sure that we are clear about our journey. We're on our journey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Fudayl ibn Iyad, and I'll end with this. He met a man and he asked the man, Kam umruk, how old are you? And the man says, Sittuna sana, I'm 60 years old. So Fudayl said, Tushiku فأنت منذ 60 سنة تسير إلى الله تشيك أن تصل. He says, so for the past 60 years, you have been on a journey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Perhaps you are about to reach your destination. And the reason why he said that is because the Prophet ﷺ said, أعمار أمتي بين 60 و70 وقليل من يجاوز ذلك. The average age of my ummah is between 60 and 70 years old, and only a few people go beyond that. The Prophet ﷺ said, أعذر الله امرئ بلغه 60 سنة. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept no excuses from a man once he has reached 60 years old. Once you reach 60 years old, hadith is in Sahih Bukhari. Once you reach 60 years old, there's no more excuses. Allah says, وَقَدْ جَاءَهُمُ النَّذِيرُ, and a warner has already come to you. And the scholars say that the warner in this ayat is the gray hairs in your head. Every gray hair in your beard on your head is a warner to you that your journey is almost over. Think about that. The next time you take a look at yourself in the mirror and you see gray hairs popping up, all of those gray hairs are telling you your time is almost up. Between 60 and 70 years old is the average age of the Muslim community, and only a few go beyond that. The Prophet ﷺ died when he was 63. Abu Bakr died when he was 63. Umar died when he was 63. He was a great man, and they never made it past the first half of their 60s. While we 65 now, I'm almost 70, and not a care or concern in the world. Each gray hair on your head is telling you, is warning you that your demise is near. So when Fudayl said this to the man said, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. To Allah we belong and to Allah we shall return. Fudayl asked the man, Hal ta'lamu ma'nahu? Do you even know what this means? So the man said, yes, I know what it means. It means that we belong to Allah and eventually we're going to return to Allah. So Fudayl, he said, فَعَلَى الْإِنسَانِ إِذَا يَعْلَمْ أَنَّهُ عَبْدٌ فَلْيَعْلَمْ أَنَّهُ مَوْقُوفٌ فإذا علم أنه موقوف فليعلم أنه مسؤول فإذا علم أنه مسؤول فليعد لكل سؤال جوابا. He said that if you know that you are a servant, you belong to Allah, and to Allah you're going to return, then you must know that when you return to Allah, you're going to stand before Allah. He said, and if you know that you're going to stand before Allah, then you must know that you're going to be questioned by Allah. And if you know that you're going to be questioned by Allah, then you should prepare. You're going to respond to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah gave you 70 years on this earth. Allah gave you good health, and we took that health and we abused it. We smoked cigarettes, we drank, we put ourselves in risky situations, we had unprotected relations with people, and we subjected ourselves to all types of diseases after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you a healthy body. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you good skin, and we take that skin and we go get tattoos, and we go do all types of things to our skin. And that same skin is going to be burnt to a crisp in the hellfire. And when it burns up, Allah is going to remove the burnt skin and replace it with new skin so that you can feel the pain from that process. Allah says in the Quran, كُلَّمَا نَضِجَتْ جُلُودُهُمْ بَدَّلْنَاهُمْ جُلُودٍ غَيْرَهَا لِيُذِيقَ الْعَذَابِ. And every time their skin turns to a crisp, charcoals, we take that skin and replace it with new skin so that you may taste the punishment. Allah gave you good skin. What did you do with that skin? We tattooed our bodies up. We pierced our bodies up. We did all of these things to our bodies. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you intellect. And what did we do? We went out and we smoked things. We went out and we read things and filled our heads up with information that made us opponents to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instead of drawing us closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Think about how many men and women now who look at the Quran and look at things that have been legislated in our religion and begin to challenge these things. Challenge, how many women challenge the hijab? How many women challenge polygyny? How many men challenge certain things in the religion? Subhanallah al-Azim. Allah says in the Quran that here was a person who was just a mixture of male and female semen. فَإِذَا هُوَ خَصِيمٌ مُبِينٌ. And then you grow to a point where you become an open disputer about the existence of God. It's a human being, mashallah, tabarakallah. Just yesterday, you was a thing not even thought of. And today, you talking about God doesn't exist. Mashallah, tabarakallah. How are you going to answer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for all of the things that He has given us? He says, so if you know that you are a servant to Allah and you're going to return to Allah, then you have to know you're going to stand before Allah. And if you know that you're going to stand before Allah, then you must know that you're going to be questioned by Allah. And if you know that you're going to be questioned by Allah, then you need to prepare for every question and response. So the man asked Fudail, فَمَنْ حِيلَ. So what is the way out of this situation? Fudail, he says, سَهْلَةٌ جِدًّا. He said, it's an easy way out. He said, اتَّقِ اللَّهَ فِيمَا بَقَى يَغْفِرَكَ اللَّهُ فِيمَا مَضَى وَمَا بَقَى. He said, وَإِنْ أَسَدْتَ فِيمَا بَقَى أُخِذْتَ بِمَا مَضَى وَمَا بَقَى. He said, fear Allah and do what's right in what is left of your life. How old was the man? 60. He said, fear Allah and do what's right, what is left of your life, and Allah will forgive you for what you did before and what you did after. He said, but if you do bad in what is left of your life, you will be accountable for what you did before and what you did after. Real simple process. Real simple. Every day for the believer is a new page. Our deeds have gone up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and a new record has come down, and we start on a new scroll. We wake up tomorrow, the angels that were with us from Salatul Asr to Fajr, they leave at Fajr, and other angels come down from Fajr to Asr. So after Salatul Fajr, we have a new record starting. Every day starts a new page in our book. You are the author of your own narrative. How you stand before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and how your book will be read in front of Allah Yawm al-Qiyamah is totally up to me and you. You are the author of your own book. You are the one that is in control of the pen, the recipient of the pen. The pen that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala swears by. Noon wal qalami wa ma yasturun. Noon and the pen, by the pen and what it writes. Allah swears by the same pen. With each and every deed and action that we do, every statement and action that we do, we're actually writing our own narrative. You are the author of your own narrative. You have an opportunity to edit your book before it reaches the publisher. On a day when everything will be published and made public, you have an opportunity to edit your record before it reaches the publisher and it's exposed in front of everyone Yawm al-Qiyamah. And we pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us for our shortcomings. We pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the sincerity that we need to continue along this path, in our path to our journey to servitude to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi وسلم تسليما كثيرا وسبحانك ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. I don't know if there were any questions or comments about what was presented. Yes? It sounds like what? Pride? A bribe. Okay. He said that, going back to the hadith of Qudsi, where we said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that there's some from amongst my servants who I keep them sick, because if I was to make them healthy, they would disbelieve in me, or they would not worship me. He said, to me that sounds like a bribe, right? So let me understand what you're saying first before I respond, right? Because we should listen to understand, not listen to respond. So you're basically saying that if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keeps this person sick because if he gave him good health, he would disbelieve in him, then why doesn't Allah just give him a chance to choose what he wants to do instead of basically forcing his hand? Is that what you're saying? Okay. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us, first, do you believe that Allah wants us to worship him? Allah wants us to worship him. Do you believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us situations that makes it easy for us to worship him? Yes. Allah gives us situation. We ask Allah to make things easy for us, right? We ask Allah to make it easy for us. And there's a dua where the Prophet ﷺ taught us to say, Allahumma la sahla illa ma ja'altahu sahla wa anta taj'alu al-hazana idha ma shi'ta sahla. Oh Allah, there's no ease except what you have made easy, and you can make difficulty easy. So we ask Allah to make things easy for us. Why? Because when He makes things easy for us, it makes it easy for us to worship Him, right? So if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave this person sickness, obviously he would give each and every one of us a sickness that we can handle. He's not going to give you a sickness that you can't handle. Would that not be Him giving you a situation that makes it easier for you to worship Him? Absolutely. Because if He was, as the hadith mentions, that if He was to give you good health, you wouldn't worship Him. That would be a difficulty, because that would be Allah giving you a situation in which you would actually disbelieve in Him. So this is actually Allah wanting good for you. The Prophet ﷺ said that if Allah wants good for His servant, He prevents you from the dunya, just like one of you would prevent a sick person from drinking from your cup. So sometimes we go after the world, and the world it seems like to fall in between our fingers. We can't seem to get a grip on the world. Right? We want money, we want wealth, we want status, we want position. We want all of these things from the world, but we can't seem to get it. And while we look at it as a loss, a failure, and in fact it is actually something that's good for us, because by not having those things, we still remain humble and we serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You follow me? You convinced? Right. Alhamdulillah. No, it's not that Allah is bribing you. It's Allah wanting good for you. So He gives you a situation that, although from one angle it looks like it's a little difficult, but from another angle it's actually keeping you grounded. It's actually keeping you grounded. Right? So that's not necessarily a bribe, it's actually wanting good for you. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants good for us, which is why He forgives us, why He has mercy upon us, why He keeps extending the rope for us to straighten our situation out. Because He wants good for us. No. Any other question? No.
I was told this is something from
People giving you the evil eye. He's asking about the evil eye and how does that play into the qadr. The evil eye, the Prophet ﷺ said, "Inna al-ayn haqq," that the evil eye is real. It's real. A person could see you with something and desire that thing, or desire that thing to be taken away from you, even if they don't necessarily desire it for themselves. They desire that thing to be taken away from you, or they covet it so much. And sometimes you can be afflicted with the evil eye because of somebody else's envious, pursuits. And that thing could actually fall apart. That thing could just crumble right underneath you. How does that play into the qadr? It's almost like a person where the Prophet ﷺ said that whoever makes this particular dua upon leaving their home, you make this dua, Bismillah tawakkaltu ala Allahi wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Whoever makes this dua before leaving their home, then it will be said to them, Wukita wa kufita, you have been protected, you have been sufficed, and no harm will come to him during that day until nighttime. But sometimes we might leave out our house, we made the dua, and we get into an accident. Or somebody robbed us, or something happened. Does that mean that the dua didn't work? No, it means that the dua worked, but what Allah decreed to happen to you, that dua was not going to circumvent that. So even though you might have something that someone afflicts you with the evil eye, even though you might have made dua for Allah to protect you from the evil eye, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not going to respond to that because He decreed for you to be afflicted with that. It's a fitna that Allah decided that you were going to be tested with. So even though a person is afflicted with the evil eye, it doesn't mean that if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it means that Allah decreed for you to be afflicted with that. Even though we may say certain supplications, we may do certain things that is from the sunnah for us to do to protect us from certain things, and then those things still happen to us. That doesn't mean that the dua didn't work. It doesn't mean that, Allah wanted bad for you. It just means that this is what was decreed for you, and the dua that you made that Allah protect you from it, He didn't respond to that because it was meant for you to be tested with that. It was decreed for you to be afflicted with that. For whatever hikmah, whatever wisdom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saw in that situation. Allahu a'lam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. So someone said online, well then there's no point in making dua. Why? Even if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't respond to your dua, you still make dua. Dua is ibadah. It's worship. It doesn't matter whether Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answers to your dua or not. We hope that Allah answers the dua, but even if He doesn't answer the dua, you still get rewarded for it. Because the Prophet ﷺ said, "Ad-du'a huwa al-ibadah." Dua is ibadah. It's worship. It's worship. So even if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't respond to your dua, you're still getting rewarded for making dua because it's ibadah, just like salah, just like zakat, just like fasting. It's a form of ibadah. It's a form of worship. Not only that, it's the conversation that's important. Whether Allah responds to the dua or not, it's neither here nor there. Umar used to supplicate, Allahumma hadha dua wa ilayka al-ijaba. Oh Allah, this is my dua, now it's for you to respond. It's just the conversation that I'm having with God. That's the most important thing. The fact that I can go into sujood and I can pour my heart out to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who hears every word. And you can go and pour your heart out to somebody who's listening to you attentively and they still can't do nothing to help you out with it. You don't even feel relieved even for venting to the person. As Khawla bint Tha'laba came to the Prophet ﷺ to complain about her husband, Aisha said, Subhanallah, glory be to Allah whose hearing encompasses everything. She said, I was in the same room with Khawla when she was complaining to the Prophet about her husband. And although I couldn't hear the whole conversation, Allah heard the whole conversation above the seven heavens. The whole conversation, Allah heard it. Allah revealed an entire surah, or the surah is named after that incident, Surah Al-Mujadilah, Surah 58 in the Quran. لقد سمع الله قول التي تجادلك في زوجها وتشتكي إلى الله. Allah has heard the complaints of the woman who came to you, O Muhammad, to complain about her husband. Allah heard the conversation from above the seven heavens. There's nothing more precious than that. Nothing more precious than raising your hand and communicating with God and know that He heard you. Whether He responds to you or not, it's neither here nor there. It's the conversation that's important. You guys follow me? Or is Him responding important? Because the fact of the matter is sometimes we make dua for things that are not actually good for us. You may make dua for something believing that it's good for you, and it's not good for you. Allah says in the Quran, وَيَدْعُ الْإِنسَانُ بِالشَّرِّ دُعَاءَ لَهُ بِالْخَيْرِ, that the human being supplicates for evil just as often as he supplicates for good. Sometimes we make dua. So if Allah was to respond to every dua you made, right, we would be torn between good and bad. Sometimes He doesn't respond because not responding is good for us. And sometimes He does respond because in responding is good for us. Allah knows and we don't know. Our lives is between hope and fear as believers. بين خوف ورجاء, between fear and hope. And we leave the rest up to Allah. What's in the middle, the fill in the blank, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take care of that. But no one should say, well, if that's still going to happen, why should we make dua? Because you made dua that Allah protect you from something. He didn't protect you from something for wisdom that was greater than what you could fathom. And you're saying, well, how is it that I made dua that Allah protect me from this and I still got tested with it? Because there's a hikmah, there's a wisdom in it that is greater than what you can understand. No one can encompass the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. None. Yes. Absolutely. He says sometimes as human beings we just want somebody to listen to us. Right? Women are famous for that. They come home, they telling you, venting you. It's like, and you're like, well, babe, what you should have did was this. She looks at us like, dude, I don't want a response. I just want you to listen to me. Right? Sometimes people just want to vent. They don't want a response. They don't want details of how to fix the problem. They just want to be able to dump that load, get that off of me. Let somebody hear me and let me get that off my chest. Right? Sometimes we got a bone to pick with somebody and it was like, yo, I just had to go chew this dude out. I had to get that off my chest. Right? Because I don't want to sleep like that. I don't want to live like that. Couples should be like that as well. We should not go to bed harboring something to the person that's sleeping to the right of you or to the left of you. I mean, I would like to think that would be emotional treachery. You're treacherous because you're going to sleep feeling some type of way about this person, but you don't tell the person how you're feeling. That's treachery. You want to be transparent with the person and let the person know so they can help you fix whatever it is you're going through, whatever you're feeling. They can help you to alleviate that. Or at least they can be in the know about how you're feeling about it. At least be in the know. But to feel some type of way about someone and you're sleeping next to this person, it's like oxymoronic. It's oxymoronic. That the fact that you are sleeping next to someone is an indication that you love the person. But the fact that you're not exposing to them how you really feel about them is the total antithesis to love. How can you love somebody and then sleep next to them and not share with them how you're feeling about them or how what they did or said to you made you feel? It's treacherous. Be transparent. Be transparent. Now, any other question? Yes. Madarij Salikin. Yeah, by Ibn Qayyim. I think some of it is actually translated in English. The book is in Arabic, 3 volumes. I think some of it is actually translated in English. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't really know, but I believe the last I heard that it was actually being worked on and being translated into the English language. Madarij Salikin. And he wrote this 3-volume book based upon this one portion of Al-Fatiha, Iyaka na'budu wa Iyaka nasta'in. The whole 3 volumes, just based upon that one phrase right there. Any other questions or comments about what was presented? Any comments on or questions on Periscope? You guys have any comments or questions? So can anyone run the 10 obstacles back to me? From 1 to 10?
Let me review my team.
Can anyone run the 10 obstacles back?
I got number 1.
I got a free book for anybody that can give me all 10. Run them all back to me from your memory. You got it? All 10? Oh, okay. Huh? In order? Nah, they don't have to be in order. I'm going to make it easy for you. Just give me all 10. Sincerity. What is it? Bad character. No. Let him handle it.
Oh, that's the son.
Oh, that's the son. Okay, y'all tag teaming. Oh, y'all doing this together. Okay, cool. Go ahead. What'd you say? Bad company. He helping you out. That's 3. Come on, Junior, help him out. You're only getting 1 book, though.
the first one? What did you do?
Shaitan was the first one. If the Imam help y'all out, that's it, man. We're just doing it for the heck of it. We're not doing it for the book. Yes.
One question.
Uh-huh.
If you go to a Muslim and you know they don't pray as often as they should, and I say as often because things come up, you might hurt them. You might feel like it's like, I'm around them, they pray with me, and I'm not around them.
Okay.
People around them are praying. How do you help a person? Especially, I don't know, family member or any close friend. How do you do it? And I understand it's tough for people sometimes to pray, but I don't know how to help them.
Okay. That's honest. That's honest. He said, how do you talk to somebody who you're around them, but they don't pray as often as they should? How do you even give someone advice about the importance of prayer and do that without giving them a khutbah or a lecture? You know what I mean? Like, nobody wants a khutbah, right? Brother, Aki, you know Allah says in the Quran, like, yo, when brothers come up to me and they saying, like, when you start off the conversation like that, I'm already turned off. It's just like, all right, because you don't even see me as a human being. What you're doing is you're regurgitating to me something you read out of a book or something you heard in a lecture, and you're just using me as the guy to get that off on. When you see a person as a human being, you approach them as a human being first. Assalamu alaikum, brother. How you doing? Everybody has a why. Why starts your journey to deeper knowledge of the person. Now, I get it. Everybody's not a psychologist. You know what I mean? Like, everybody is not functioning on that level. I'm just saying, for me, I don't know how to answer this question other than how I would do it. I wouldn't approach somebody by initially telling them what Allah says in the Quran, what the Prophet ﷺ says in the Sunnah, because 9 times out of 10, they already know that. People don't avoid prayer or are not negligent of prayer because they don't understand the importance of it. That's not why they don't pray. You understand what I'm saying? I'll give you an example. A young man came to the Prophet ﷺ. He said, "O Messenger of Allah, ista'dhana fi zina." He asked permission to commit fornication. I mean, like, just looking at it, it's like, what? He asked permission to commit fornication. He said, "I can do everything Islam says to do, with the exception of this one thing. Just give me permission to sleep with women as I like. That's not something that I have any control over." He's asking the Prophet ﷺ this. He's not going to another companion. He's going to the Messenger of Allah, asking him for permission to commit zina. The fact that he's asking permission to do this is an indication that he already knows that it's haram. So beginning by telling him it's haram, astaghfirullah, how in the world could you ask me something like that? That is not going to be the solution to that problem. How did the Prophet ﷺ respond to this? He asked the man, he said, "Do you have a mother?" The man said, "Yes." He said, "Would you like somebody to commit fornication with your mother?" The man said, "No." He said, "Well, then likewise, people have mothers, they don't want people to commit fornication with their mothers." He said, "Do you have an aunt?" He said, "Yes." He said, "Would you like somebody to commit fornication with your aunt?" He said, "No." He said, "Well, likewise, people have aunts and they don't want people to commit fornication with them." He said, "Do you have a sister?" He said, "Yes." He said, "Would you like somebody to commit fornication with your sister?" He said, "No." He said, "Then well, likewise, people have sisters and they don't want people to commit fornication with their sisters." He got it. The Prophet ﷺ never said anything about it being haram. How dare you ask me for permission or something like that? Never. Because he understood that him asking that question was deeper than him not understanding that it's haram. And what the Prophet ﷺ did was tapped into the more human side of him, because just like you wouldn't want somebody to do that to your mother, your sister, your aunt, then likewise, why would you do that to somebody?